All right, hello everybody and welcome. It is Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. My name is Albert. I'm the founder of Albert's List. And you are here for Job Search Operating System. Build the strategy before you make a move. With today's competitive job market and the ever increasing difficulty as it is to get a job, as we're reading in the comments and we're seeing in the press, it is more important than ever that you have the right job search strategy to get out there and be effective so that you can land that job quickly. Traditional ways, such as applying blindly through applicant tracking systems and hoping and praying that you'll get a response, no longer work. And so that's why we're hosting this webinar today, because we want you to be thoughtful, strategic, and purposeful as you go through your job search. And with me, as always, for this webinar is Nader Mowlaee, founder of Engineer Your Mission. He's a former recruiter and a career coach who always does a fantastic job here for Albert's List and provides a very thoughtful approach to the job search. All right, so we have our webinar chat. Feel free to ask and answer your questions in there, as well as our survey. Once again, we also invite you to network with all the other attendees in here, as many are doing right now. If you have any questions, use the Q&A. And this will be recorded, and I'll probably get the recording out to you later tonight or tomorrow. So Nader, without further ado, it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Albert, as always, for having me here. We're going on to 6 years, right? 6 years of working together, 6 years of doing these presentations of first like different topics, different processes, different things that we do together. But it's really good to like kind of like I guess we've known each other long enough to say grow up together, right? 6 years is a long time from just when COVID started till now.
We've
We're
gone
going through
from, I
another
think, the Great Resignation to whatever they're going to call this to whatever they're going to call whatever's coming
the
next.
great AI transformation, right?
Yeah.
Job search has changed quite a few times while I've been in it over the
Mm-hmm.
last 16 years started with recruiting and then learned so much. And I started coaching part-time and then full-time
Yep.
as I no longer do any recruiting right now. But it's changed a lot, right? From 2008 that I've been in it. The reason why I don't work as an engineer today is going through the 2008 recession and struggling and failing and landing on my feet, but in a different industry. I did work in tech, not truly in deep end engineering, but then I got into recruiting totally by chance, learned a ton, did really well, and then acquired the knowledge that I've cooked up and developed, but I'm about to share with you today. So I've shared the link to my LinkedIn profile. I just shared it, the second last message. So if anyone wants to just go to chat right now, at least have my LinkedIn profile open so you can connect with me right now. Do it. Just you don't need to send me a message. Or if you send a message, it would be pretty cool and say, hey, where you met me, because every day I get these invitation messages. So so I know where that comes from. I can give you guys some preferred, uh, some additional attention because I always get questions after these sessions, and it's easier if you just guys ask me questions directly on LinkedIn rather than channeling them through Albert, because on LinkedIn I can also respond with voice messages, which is going to be a lot more effective in guiding you in the right direction. So with that said, I'll close my chat right now, but I see a lot of LinkedIn URLs, right? You guys can connect with one another. It's still a good time to just click on those links and just open up a bunch of tabs, as you guys, I don't think you'll lose the chat later on, but as we get deep into this conversation, I'd love for you guys to just really focus on what's on the screen. Whatever you see on the screen, you're going to have full access to. You will have access to the presentation. I'll give you the entire workflow that you're going to see, the prompt, the steps, everything. As always, I include like a bonus, something bonus. I do have a bonus process, a bonus prompt as well. The operating system, but also another analyst type prompt I've written, which I give to people who are in the early search process for support. They're looking for help, but they don't know where to get help from. Today you want to find out where your system is broken, why you're not getting job results in the job market, what the hell is going on. You're going to figure that out and have a structured routine and a daily operating system that you can follow completely by yourself, but a small percentage of you, maybe like 5% of you guys, I don't know how many people we have here, but 5% of you might want some additional support. There's another process for that. Like, how do I find out the right person for me? So um, that's another system. So as a bonus, just stay till the end. So we go through the standard, standard programming for today, and then I'll share with you the bonus prompt as well. So with that said, and questions, dump your questions in the chat right now. Towards the end, we'll spend a good 30 minutes, you know, answering questions. If any of your questions weren't answered, directly DM me on LinkedIn, please, and I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. With that said, I'm coming off of a little bit of a sickness, so I will be muting myself and coughing whenever the cough comes. Sometimes I might not be able to click that mute fast enough, and you guys might get an explosive cough. I apologize for that ahead of time, but that's why I'm getting hand some hot tea right now. All right, good stuff. So with that said, I just learned how to share my screen and have me in the background, or have you guys in the background. Let me see. Okay, so this should be, nope, that's the wrong one. Do that again. See, I did tell you I just learned this, right? All right, so you guys should see me in the corner, all nice and fancy with my LinkedIn profile in the background. Um, yeah, I got 11 of you who have reached out already. I won't click on here, but I'll definitely accept each and every one of your invitation. Definitely take some time to go through it. I don't want to take much time today or really any time more than I already spent talking about myself, but go through my link. There's tons you can learn if you're actually looking for help, if you're looking for content, if you're looking for testimonials, whatever, if you're looking for my career path, leaving engineering, getting into tech, and then to recruiting and then coaching. You can learn all that stuff by yourself if you're interested. Uh, I basically want to bring your attention to the bottom of my profile, nearly a couple of hundred recommendations on here. This is my wall of fame, you know. So this is I've got these are the clients I've worked with, and I've worked with just above 1,300 clients over the last 16 years. These are a good couple of hundred of them who wrote a recommendation message for me, and uh, really the only unbiased feedback you can get. If you have any other questions, I'll be more than happy to tell you my story on a one-on-one call, in a private consultation, or in one of our workshops. I do private workshops as well, which all of you guys are going to get 3 workshops for free after this presentation. I'll show you how to get those. So I'll close this for now. I've got a sample resume here, which we're going to use to run the prompt sort of in the middle of the process. So I've got everything ready. I ran the prompt. I won't show you so you don't get distracted, but I ran the prompt and it's just ready to receive input. So next, we're going to copy this entire thing. I removed the contact information. So you guys can open up your own resume as well, a sample resume, remove your name and contact information off of it, whether you do that with me today, which I rather you don't. I rather you do it on your own. You have a core resume, basic resume ready to upload to your ChatGPT or Claude or whatever AI platform you're using after you run the prompt. So you're going to see an example today, uh, but later on you have it set up. This is the program analyst, the career coaching program analyst prompt. It's a 5-page process that after you execute the prompting process or the workflow we go through today, if and when you decide you need additional help, you should do in-depth research to find the right career coach for yourself. So, having had that conversation with so many people and trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can be, a few months ago, I said, you know what? Why don't I actually put together a detailed research, like search workflow, and give it away to people so they can find the right coach for themselves? Because I'm just not the right coach for everyone, right? And I don't want to get on a call and speak with someone and we both spend 30 minutes to realize that we're actually not a good fit, and that actually happens in my real life. Not anymore because I give this process away. Hey, if you're interested in coaching with me, hey, hold on a second, execute this prompt. go through the entire process. It fully analyzes your needs and gives you information from me or any other coach you want to input information from, and does the matching, gives you a score. Is this a person good coach for you or not? So that process is a different program, is a different prompt. I'll share that with you too. What we're going to go through today is this. You're here to find out how to build your job search strategy within 30 minutes with or without a career coach. My whole goal after this, that like, it's not even a goal. Like, I've already presented this to others. They are doing it. They're using this process to build the entire job search strategy and daily operating systems by themselves. Now, again, 3, 4, 5% of you guys might want to hire a coach to guide you through it. Fantastic. We got 61 people here, so maybe two, three of you guys want the actual hands-on support. Fantastic. Everybody else, you don't need a career coach to do this stuff. As long as you have a structured system. So we've got like a 6-step process here that you're going to learn, adopt, and then execute throughout with your own AI. Now, with that said, before this is the actual prompt, so you will have access to this when we're done. Yeah, it is a public document. You can view it. I won't give you the link right now. I don't want you guys to get distracted, but at the end of the presentation, when I drop the link in the chat, I just want you guys to go to File and make a copy for yourself. Add it to your own Google Drive, or obviously you can download it, right? You can do either of those two, but you can view this. This is the second version of the prompt. I give this link away because every time I update it, you guys can have access to the updated version. So this link will never change, so you guys have access to that. With that said, let me just pull down my curtains. I'm not going to burn, and then we'll get right into the presentation. As always, courtesy of Notebook LM. All right, we've talked about Notebook LM a lot, another AI platform by Google. Does all the heavy lifting for you. So hopefully you guys like the presentation today. It was not done by me, and it's all, you put the notes in there, you provide the information to your AI, you bring the structures. I teach this stuff in my workshops, right? If you have a presentation for a company during an interview, we do a fully professional, like detailed presentation like this that you can take with you to the actual interview, whether you're presenting one of your projects or even if you're telling your story. You can basically upload your resume and walk someone through your resume broken down into like a story format within, let's say, 10 to 15 slides. Um, some people call it a video resume, kind of like that, like a PowerPoint presentation type resume. Fascinating, helps you stand out from others, and it makes it so much easier to keep listening to you, right? If you're presenting your resume, talking about your career path and things like that. So a lot of cool stuff that you can do with Notebook LM, and I always promote them. Not sponsored by Google, by the way, guys, but I love to talk about them. So with that said, you're here to stop guessing and start strategizing and debugging your job search process. Doesn't have to be the engineer or the tech job search process. Naturally, again, I have an engineering technology background. Most of the people I work with in the Bay Area, and obviously throughout the whole country, still Canada and a few different countries, uh, they're primarily in tech. They come to me because of my deep understanding and having worked in tech and 10 years of recruiting in that industry. That insider knowledge does help me. I'm biasly speaking, it does help. It shows in everything I do. But what you're about to learn today does not have to be for jobs in tech. It can be in sales, it can be in marketing, it can be customer service, it can be whatever field you're in. But I want to clarify, this is not for engineers only. Um, but the problems are the same. Like the most job seekers don't have a resume problem. At least the resume problem is not the first problem they have. They have a strategy problem. Uh, they are not using the right channel, right? The channel, strategy, platform, process. They're all the same, right? So that's why I was asking you earlier, like, what do you guys do for job searching? That's actually the first question. One of the first questions I ask in a consultation is, okay, so what brings you to me? And the person said, I need help with this. I need to get a job faster. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's start with what you actually do to land interviews. What is your job search strategy? And then in the interviews, what is your communication, presentation strategy? How do you position yourself? What do you say when you talk about yourself? So I separate those two from one another. Performance in the interview and what you do prior to getting an interview. Today, we're going to be talking about what you're going to do prior to an interview. We'll talk about the interview a little bit because if you're getting interviews and interviews are failing, you have to be able to understand what the bottleneck is and where the failure comes from. But majority of today's discussion is about the job search journey, everything that you do prior to your first round interview. Cool. So we're going to figure out how to identify your bottlenecks, and this is all embedded into the prompting process you're going to have access to. We'll do an example on. So what the bottlenecks are, what are the primary and secondary job search paths or job search strategy or job search channel or platform, and build a 7-day plan, the 7-day plan is there because you can get interviews next week, so depending on a sense of urgency, if it's okay, I'm starting today, it's Monday, I want to have interviews next week. Can I do it? Yes, absolutely. It's just you got to figure out the path that allows you to get there. And the time and effort you put in there obviously has to be more aggressive, right? You have to do more. So just keep that in mind. 7-day plan turns into sort of a 7-day sprint, 7-day challenge. Uh, every one of you guys are welcome to join the 7-day challenge. I'm offering 7 days free access to what I do in my community, three additional workshops, all resources, all training, free access to me for 7 days as part of that challenge. Right? Whether you get results or not, yet to be seen, but you can decide to continue after that or not. Right? So that's what we're going to cover today. Hope that makes sense. A little bit of I would say background. This might be a little bit repetitive for you guys, but I want to make sure we set the foundation correctly and talk about that black hole. Talk about the most common path that the average person goes on, participate in, that results in the least, gives you the worst results, least amount of outcome, least worst output. And that's the job application process or the applicant tracking system, where you see, on average, you got 250, 300 applications submitted through an online portal, goes through the applicant tracking system, the ATS, filters bunch of people out. Then the recruiter looks at it, bunch of people go out. Then let's say the interview process starts, and then again, bunch of people go out and get eliminated. Ultimately, they hire one person, right? So one person out of 250 applications. And that's what everybody complains about is, hey, the recruitment funnel is broken. And I'm telling you, yes, it is broken. And as bad as this sounds, that part of the hiring process, the hiring programs, that part doesn't change. Like it is what it is. I know none of you guys want to hear that, but uh, the solution to that, the remedy to that is to not participate in the online application process or downgrade its priority and make sure it's not where you spend most of your time. If you are spending most of your time, then I mean, that's the problem, right? So that's the root cause of a problem. This is the most common problem. I asked you guys earlier, what do you do for job searching? What's your primary and secondary? Uh, Applying to jobs online should neither your primary or secondary. Third, as a third, I can put it as third. I can put it as fourth, or fifth, somewhere in there, the fifth step, fourth, third, as early as the third thing. But you better be picking companies by hand. Make sure the jobs are excellent match for you. Personalize your resume to it, then submit online as the third thing you do. Meaning you have already done two other things prior to that. We're gonna figure out what those two other things are today. Then third, you submit your application. Then there's a fourth and fifth, right? But just making sure that you're not willingly participating into the black hole of applications. Cool. So I'm sharing this with you guys. I know this is not new knowledge. I just want to ring the alarm bell. You're like, hey, I hope you're actually not doing that as your primary job search strategy. If that's the case, then we need to change it. You need this new operating system. All right, let's move on to what this operating system is actually about. There are six different core stages that you have to go through as a job seeker to go from assuming you're unemployed, right? So some of you guys may be currently not working, so you want to get a job. Some currently working, you want to get a better job. So whether you're unemployed or employed, you have to go through six stages, and that's what your operating system includes in order to get to that offer. And that goes from targeting, so picking the right target, positioning yourself on position. Sometimes you've heard of the terms of personal branding, like this is where you write your resume, stuff like that. So positioning or personal branding, picking the right channel, picking the right path, picking the right platform, picking the right strategy, picking the right process, all the same thing. Like where do I go to put myself to get access to the people who make decisions, to put myself in front of them, to the channel, then the conversations. So before you get an interview, you have to have there has to be conversations exchanged. Now, whether that conversation is in your LinkedIn DMs or emails or a phone, there has to be a conversation, right? In real world, there's multiple conversations, multiple emails back and forth. So the conversation piece is a core part of the operating system that you need to pre-plan and analyze and make sure you're not stalling there. Then you go to the interview process, multiple interview rounds before you get an offer. So that's where you kind of like checkmate your career, right? And you get the job offer, happily ever after, you move on. Now there's diagnosis that happens after each of these stages. Uh, you need to be able to, again, the goal of today's presentation is self-analysis. So most of this you should be able to do by yourself. If you get stuck or if you feel like you're too biased or you're unaware, you just like, I don't know what to do in this case, I don't know what the issue is, that's where your AI comes in. So in the prompt, in the workflow, everything's built in. Everything's baked into it. So if you read through these stages and you say, hey, I'm missing something here, or I'm getting stuck, I'm just not getting interviews. So the issue could be the targeting, or it could be this, but I'm not sure. So don't get frustrated because the prompt can definitely help you given the fact that you provided all the information, the insights it needs. That's where is that's where kind of like AI stops and human beings come in. I'm always there for you. I mean, anybody like me can help you. Definitely in the 7-day challenge, we can spend at least 3 more hours and 3 more workshops together. So I can fill in the gaps as a human being that can see those nuances. But by yourself or through I want you to understand what these boxes are. And if and when you get stuck at one stage, I want you to understand what can happen. Because if targeting's wrong, everything's like literally this is step number one. If you're directionally incorrect, you can do all the right things in the wrong direction, you will not hit your target. So direction and the target is the most important part. But after that, if positioning is weak, people do not respond to you. Whether you're applying online, you're DMing them, you're calling them, or you're meeting them in person, shaking their hand, if you're not branding or positioning yourself properly, why do they need to respond to you? So it's relevant to their needs and desires. Employers, people out there have needs, have problems, have desires, have goals they need to have achieved, and they want to hire you to help them achieve that. Right? But if you're not positioning yourself as the solution to their problem, they just don't see why they should contact you. So this is where you normally get ghosted. Let's say you figure out your positioning, but you're picking the wrong channel. So wrong strategy, wrong platform. You can have a great resume, but they're just going to go unseen. The most common channel, which was the screen before this, the applicant tracking system is here. This is the most common channel, and most people's resumes are never seen. I normally joke and say your resume could be printed on a sheet of gold, like on an emerald tablet. It doesn't matter. Like they're just not gonna see it. Like 95% of 90%, there's no statistics I can give you backed by data, but like majority, like 80, 90% of applications, resumes are pinged off, are disqualified. That doesn't mean you're not qualified to do the job, but they're eliminated from the selection process by the applicant tracking system. Traditionally, the applicant tracking systems were a lot more easier to trick to get past. Right now, most of them they have an AI backing them up. They're connected to an LLM. They can search and find and analyze context a lot better. So you cannot just make a list of the tools you've used. Oh, I've used Python. I've used this software and this software and this platform without any context. Is like that's not gonna work anymore. You can't get away with that. You have to write, elaborate, provide descriptive explanations of how you use certain skills and what tools to solve which problems and get what results. You have to tell a story that convinces a person, but before a person sees it, needs to convince the AI that understands context now. So let's say you do all of that. Great, well-written resume, good channel. If conversations are going nowhere, you're not pitching yourself properly. So you might have a pitch problem. If you're pitching yourself properly, then you're going to be getting interviews. If interviews are going nowhere, you need to improve your communication skills, your presentation skills. You need to tell better stories. You need to provide better evidence. You need to tell a better story, but tell it better. Like the way you say it, the way you present it, your tone of voice, your body language. How risky does it sound? Do you sound? How confident do you sound? Do you sound like you know what you're talking about, or you sound like you're just kind of like not sure? Those are the nuances that are very challenging to self-analyze. I mean, you can record your own voice and your own video, but self-analysis almost never works. I'd rather you simulate the interview, let's say inside ChatGPT, like in a voice conversation. The new ChatGPT voice is great. Gemini is great. Like any kind of like live voice interaction, you can simulate an interview and get feedback like that. And if any of you guys want an interview simulation prompt, I'm pretty sure I have an interview simulation prompt somewhere here. There you go. Job interview simulation prompt. Not part of today's presentation, but this is my school prompt vault. So I got a lot of stuff that I can additionally, I share this stuff inside my coaching community, inside the workshops. So long story short, we don't want to get deviated. Somebody or a pre like a trained model, a trained AI model, which you need that prompt for it to train to set the right boundaries, can evaluate your communication, your presentation skills, or a human being. Otherwise, if you're not going forward to the next interview, all the way to the offer, it has nothing to do with your resume or your branding or how you get the job or which direction. It has to do with your performance during the interview. So again, today's prompt is a multi-step prompt, it's a six-step prompt. It's going to help you figure that out as much as it possibly can. Cool. We're on the second version, so I know it works, but it's not exactly 100%, right? It's probably somewhere in the 95% success rate, which is an amazing departure from you having to always get somebody to help you. So if I see some questions coming to the chat, I'm getting like Zoom giving me these pop-ups. I won't click through them right now, so we have time to. I just want to stay on the topic. You can spend the next 30 minutes, going through the presentation, do a live example, and that way you guys can get a better understanding of what actually needs to be done. Right? Uh, let's move on to the next step. This is stuff that you need to experience, and I want you to help you visualize yourself, like the transformation I want you guys to have after this presentation, especially after you run the prompt for yourself. I want you to again look at yourself from a pawn to becoming that king. So from the candidate to the strategist. The candidate just plays by the rules, right? You message someone, you did some networking, people say, just go to our website and apply. And you're just going to be a good boy and a good gal and just go and do that and just wait. Like we don't do that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like play the game, it's like don't follow the rules. Don't don't get into fights with them. But like when someone says go apply online, they're telling you to follow the rules. We don't follow the rules. I think like kind of like I established that in the second in the second here. That could be the third thing you do. Yeah, go finally apply online. But there's two other major steps, way more effective ways to job search than just applying to jobs online. But go apply online is generally one of those rules, quote unquote rules, you don't necessarily have to follow. I guess you want to go from again just submitting resumes to really auditing the market, to ask good questions, to find out where the problems are, where the money is, where is the investment going into, where is it, if it's privately owned companies, where is the money going? If it's publicly traded, like where are the transfer, where are the changes coming? Where's the job market? Stock market is going up. It's all about the money, right? The money mindset of it is extremely important. That's what I mean about the market. Rather than waiting for permission, you want to like engineer and design a narrative, right? You want to be proactive rather than reacting and waiting for people to tell you what to do. You're driving your own vehicle. You want to push the strategy forward. And yeah, force the moves, 100%. Don't hope for like force the moves. Follow up regularly. Like, I can put numbers to this stuff and the prompt helps you with that. And generally speaking, the feedback that I get when I tell someone to do this number of things or follow up X number of days, it feels aggressive if you've never done proactive job searching. But I promise you today, the advice I give, it's nowhere as aggressive as like what you should do, right? So normally we follow up, let's say every 3 days, and people say, "Oh, that's pretty aggressive." I'm like, you should be really following up every other day, so like 3 times a week, but at least do two, right? One time a week follow up is just not enough. And if you're not even following up once a week, yeah, no wonder they forgot about you, you know? So strategy, aggressiveness. I specifically I'm saying aggressiveness because I know it feels aggressive to you to force the moves and follow up every 3 days and like push conversations forward. And that's why I'm using that word. Otherwise, it's not aggressive. They don't feel you're aggressive. They feel you're determined. You feel aggressive. They're experiencing determination, right? So again, you don't need a better resume. You need a better strategy. You need a better approach. You need a better process. You need a better algorithm. Today, the word is algorithm because you're going to have the operating system for it. So, I mean, with that said, I really want to start giving you guys an example. Uh, Quickly going through the slides so I show you what those 6 stages are, uh, so we can execute it and see if it's gonna see what it's gonna give out to this person. I've picked a sample resume so you guys can run it on your own sample resume later on. But this prompt, which is in this page, we're going to go through these 6 steps very briefly. First and foremost, it needs evidence. So the evidence is primarily your resume. So this could be your resume, and hopefully like a big resume, a detailed resume that has everything about you, not a short, quick one pager. That is for a different application. We need context. On top of that resume, if you have a portfolio, if you have a projects list, if you have whatever information that talks about your career, we're gonna dump all that into this prompt as soon as it asks us. It's step number one. Then there'll be questions around, the target role you want, what seniority you want, what industry you're in, what your location you're in. Then the diagnosis begins like, where is the job search breaking? So there's going to be this process is fully interactive. So you may have heard of like reverse prompting. It's fully baked in to interview you. The experience you're going to have going through this prompt, it is and should be an experience of like meeting someone, right? Meeting someone. I don't know if you guys have had conversation with like career coach like me, someone who's trying to figure out like what's going on, like why are you not landing interviews? Where is the problem? So they're gonna ask you a ton of questions. So I've pre-baked in some standard operating questions, like standard core questions, and I've given the prompt the autonomy to ask you any other questions to figure out what's breaking, why a certain thing is not working. So I don't know how far honestly we can get with the prompt today because the resume I've selected is someone who's joined my coaching program yesterday. I haven't even looked at his resume. We did it through the consultation and I provided like personal feedback. So I'm familiar with what he's done, but I haven't gone through the in-depth analysis. So we'll get into this in-depth diagnosis. We'll see how many of those questions I can answer on his behalf. If I see that the example is taking really too long, I'll stop it there. Or I might be able to just give it some like kind of like answers to just get the prompt moving. For you, I'm guessing this is going to take 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes, right? So don't just if you don't know the answer to that question, you can say I don't know. You certainly can, but I'd rather you find out. Because if you say too many I don't knows, if you don't answer too many of the questions, the feedback it's going to give you on, like what channel you should use and what you should do and what your daily, weekly, monthly moves will be, it might just end up being more generic than specific to your needs and to your specific to your particular situation. So just keep that in mind. Last but not least, you need a dashboard to track and measure your entire job search journey. So this can turn into in a Google sheet, an Excel sheet, or it can be like pen and paper, write it down on a piece of paper. But you need to be able to put numbers into actions you take and be able to see where your system is broken, where just not feedback coming to you. There's like something stalling, so you're not making to the next step. So you can go and find out like what is the issue. Oh, I'm getting stuck here. What could be the issue? I'm getting stuck here. I'm doing everything right. I'm even having nice networking conversations, but I'm not getting interviews. What is going on? Okay, I got to pitch myself better. The pitch is just like, maybe it's generic, maybe it's not specific. So you need to be able to self-analyze and self-diagnose. Cool. All right, so let's go through step number one. I'll go to ChatGPT in a second. We'll bring up the prompt. I'll show you what the first step is, and it's basically just intaking information. Resume needs to be provided, some goals, some industry that the person we're going to be testing with, what they're looking for. So the analysis can be done based on that information, and the bottlenecks can be identified. Cool. So we'll keep it on slide number 6. Then we're probably gonna hit a few of these through the prompting process. Obviously, I'm gonna upload this. You're gonna have access to this document as well. Don't worry about anything on the screen. You don't need to take notes. You'll have access to it. Uh, but let's take a look at this prompt. What you need to do, except the headline and this little, fancy infographic, everything you see down here that is in green, this entire thing all the way down, just copy the entire thing, bring it to your chat GPT, paste it in, or whatever platform you're using, just paste it in there, press enter. It's a long one, but press enter, and it's going to come back to you and say, hey, please upload your resume or paste, the full text. I'll read it first and confirm these things. So step number one, after you upload your resume, again, this AI is programmed to give you this feedback. This is where I normally have to sit down and go through, let's say, a consultation, read your resume, give you feedback. So again, the goal is that you can still have this process, this analysis, diagnosis journey without a career coach, right? So when it comes back with 2, 3 targetable roles, relevant keywords, credibility signals, likely hiring team objections. So if someone looks at your resume, what could be some of the possible objections they would have for you? And any missing numbers or evidence you should gather. This is pretty common. You look at a resume, you read a statement, and it should be tangible, should be measurable, but the metrics are not there. So metrics not being there, employers, recruiters, team members, they're basically like trained not to believe it. Even if you put a number there, they'll ask you, how did you get that number? But without a number, they're just kind of like trained not to believe it. After that, ChatGPT will begin to ask questions one at a time. All right. So for the sake of this example, I'm just going to copy paste this entire resume. We're going to drop it in here. We'll wait for it to process. While it's waiting, I'll take you back to the next slide, because after the data ingestion and figuring out the baselines and the problems and the bottlenecks, the strategy is beginning to be developed. So most of your time should be in path A on this channel, on this platform, in this process. You need to go after X, Y, or Z. So in this case, we know statistically speaking, referrals have the highest success rate. So depending on your sense of urgency, especially if you want to get hired within relatively quick, let's say within 1 or 2 months, referrals are either primary path or secondary path, followed by direct outreach. So you can look for a referral to the hiring manager, or you can directly go to the hiring manager, right? So very high speed, high leverage, straight lines only, right? Directly to the person who makes decisions rather than finding somebody else to refer you to the person who makes direct decisions. Not as effective, but when it hits, it hits. You're skipping the line. You don't need a referral if you just if you impressed, if you grab the attention or you impressed the actual person, the man or woman in charge, right? Path three, again, these are just examples. These are not exactly going to be it for you. The recruiter inbound. So what do I do to grab the attention of the recruiting platform, the recruiters? How do I grab their attention? So instead of them having to search for me in their applicant tracking system, they see me and they notice me. So how do I market myself? Uh, these are generally the top three strategies based on statistical success rates. Especially if you want interviews in the next 30 days, you pretty much got to do these three things. Now, which one comes first? Which one's next? Based on your current positioning, based on your current branding, do you need to do anything as a prerequisite? Well, that's what the prompt is for. But again, in this slide, we're just showing you the top three. The fourth one could be the online application process. The online application process on a company's career page. Fifth one could be a job board like Indeed. Sixth path could be phone calls. You call someone, you call people that call people that you could cold call them even. Seventh path could be in-person events. In-person events, all of you should be going to in-person events if you actually can. Right? They're extremely effective. They're just not tangible. Right? So that's right there. It's seven different ways. I can come up with probably like three more, like number seven, number eight, number nine, number 10. There's so many different things you can do to land interviews. The goal today is to know your primary and secondary. So if you're gonna put most of your eggs in one path, in one basket, what would that basket be? Where you can put 80% of your focus and the remaining 20% of your focus of your time on the second path. That's ultimately today's goal. Now, when the path building is done, this way and you know what the success rate of each path is. Cold applications, traditionally 2 to 5%. Direct outreach, yeah, I've seen it between like 15 and 20%. Referrals, yeah, somewhere between like 30 and freaking like 60% success rate. Depends on the person who's referring you. If you're getting referred from someone who's high up, let's say you connect with the department head or a director or a VP, and they refer you down to someone. So let's say I'm the manager, I'm the recruiter, and one of our VPs or directors refer you to me. It's a high power referral versus someone just like a regular entry level person, like someone who's just a individual contributor refers you, you know? So that there's power in the person who's referring you. And that's why this varies, but averaging about 40% of hires coming through referrals, statistically backed. I'm not coming up with those numbers. That's exactly what it is, making it the most efficient, the most powerful way for you to land interviews. It's my favorite because it also impacts your success throughout the interview process, especially if you get a referral from a little bit high up, like if one of our VPs referred you, that part of your identity throughout the interview process, and they'll pay more attention to you. They'll take it seriously. You know what I mean? Like you have someone backing you up, so um, they'll be more open to letting something slip if you didn't answer one question properly, for example. So it's powerful. Not every referral is weighed the same. So very important for giving you a boost, maybe confidence in, how effective is this thing that I'm doing. Those statistics and numbers make a difference. Um, I did mention this as well. So again, yeah, AI hallucinations. I want to make sure I talk about this because this is the 5% that it's still possible. Depends on which model you're using. So if you guys notice, I'm using a paid account. I was using like the latest 5.6 model. So the more powerful the model, the better it will perform, the less it will hallucinate. But there's still a chance there. So you don't want to ever just close your eyes and blindly follow the advice that any AI gives you. Run it by someone else and make sure you provide accurate detail. There's only so many times you can tell it, I don't know, or I don't have that information. It will make suggestions, it will make assumptions. Although I've specifically outlined the prompt not to make assumptions, and if it makes assumptions, to list the assumptions made. And I'll show you where that is in the prompt. Maybe I'll quickly walk you guys through the prompt so at least you understand the sections, especially for those who like processes, who like workflows, who like building instructional manuals, because that's exactly what it is. It's a 5-page instructional manual with the interactive coaching, built into it. So that's going to really help. Ultimately, if it makes sense, fantastic. If it doesn't make sense, uh, check it with me. I'm the grandmaster. Check it with me. I'm happy to look at the report that this prompt gives you. I can take a look at it and tell you if it's realistic or not. If it makes sense or not. Happy to do that one-on-one, but yeah, that's literally what we do in our workshop. So after this, you guys can take on that 7-day challenge. It's free. Join my school community. First 7 days free, 3 workshops free, all the resources is part of it. Go through those 7 days, have that direct access. We can spend several few hours together, get that direct input before you execute it, right? So these 3 questions, again, if you can confidently answer these questions, go for it. We don't need to talk, but if you need some help for someone to help you figure out and make sure you confidently can say yes to these questions, then I'm there for you. Cool. Uh, Towards the end, basically, as an output, we're gonna have we talked about the 7-day challenge, but we're gonna also have a 30-day operating routine, right? What are we gonna do? Again, these are some examples. These are great examples. Outreach is amazing. Content is fantastic. Networking is tremendous. But which ones do you first? How much of it do you do? Which ones do you avoid? That can change for each and every one of you. Which platforms do you use? Even if it's applying to jobs online, what platform? What website? Like Indeed is famous, but you may not need to, or maybe you shouldn't go to Indeed, right? Maybe it's a specific industry, like an industry specific platform you should go to as your fourth and fifth, whatever strategy. Go to that website and apply versus Indeed, you know? So, anyways, it's all dependent on you, even down to how many hours a day do you have available for job searching. Do you have 1 or 2 hours because you have a full-time job, or you have 8 hours a day because you don't have a job and looking for a job is your full-time job? Just depends. Or you have 12 hours a day you're dedicating the next week, next 7 days, you're going to do 12 hours. Just depends, right? Depends on your availability, and this process will be personalized to you. Cool. Um, we might as well go through this entire presentation. It's pretty straightforward before we run the example. The dashboard, it's all going to be laid out. Again, this is just an example in the presentation, but how many messages you're supposed to send? What is the message response rate you should be expecting? How many conversations does that mean for you? If you're not getting replies, what should you change? You got to change the messaging, and this is all baked into the prompt. Literally, that workflow, that prompt is there, so you don't need me, you don't need anybody to coach you. It's all baked in. This presentation was built off of the prompt, so that's why you see these beautiful graphics and stuff. But if and when you stall anywhere, you just gotta provide that feedback. So that's gonna end up being a brainstorming session back and forth. You keep going back to that chat GPT conversation, title it your jobs or strategy operating system. As you make results or no results, you give that feedback. You tell it working well, you're making progress, or you're stalling. Give that feedback. It's going to constantly coach you throughout that process. Cool. So yeah, that's it. We have the process, we have the logic, we have the workflow. We just got to execute it and have some kind of an accountability system around it. AI is amazing. It's totally transformed what I do. I've been doing this for 16 years, been doing it with AI last 3 years, and every year it's just getting better and better and better and better in terms of like getting better results. uh, Workflows. And I actually do less work today than I did before in terms of like the planning and strategy and stuff, because it's about context development and then running it through the most powerful intelligence system in the world. Let's say in this case, ChatGPT, and then help my clients with execution, with accountability. I come in where you need to practice with a person. So like when I say in interview performance coaching, that's where AI, again, we can simulate a platform, an interview with AI, but you likely may need a person to step in and evaluate your personality and tone of voice and facial features, things like that, and figure out what is it you're doing or not doing that results in you not making to the next round of interviews, and ultimately all the way to the negotiation. So all the salary research, figuring out your anchors, negotiation anchors, all that stuff can be done with AI, but then you still have to go and do the negotiation yourself, right? So this is where I'm spending majority of my time, but the pre-planning and the logic goes through systems like this, they're obviously smarter than, I guess I can comfortably say it's smarter than all of us together. So anyways, let's go through the prompt. After that, if you guys want some additional help, I'll share with you a link to my coaching community on School, free to join for the next 7 days. Uh, Courses, content, totally free, part of that 7 days. Coaching, you get 3 extra workshops like this. Bring your questions, bring your report, your operating system report. I'll give you feedback. We'll change it, we'll optimize it. Ultimately, if you want to stay, you can definitely stay. But the course and the coaching, and at least being part of the community for 7 days is completely free. So today's not where you lose support. You can still get access to me when you choose to start your 7 day challenge. You might want to, I'll probably actually recommend this. Just try this out by yourself. Some of you guys, hopefully most of you guys, you don't need some additional support and you're like, yay, I got it. I did it. Good stuff. I don't need any extra help. And that's actually a success story for me, right? I'm like, okay, that's cool. This worked again. For the second time we're doing this presentation. Again, it worked. Fantastic. Someone doesn't need me, they can do it by themselves. But if you need to, fantastic. I'm happy to help you. Self-proclaimed job search chess master here. You know. Uh, my job is to help you stop guessing and build your plan, right? So let's go through. Maybe I'll take a pause. We're an hour in. The example should take no more than 10 minutes. I'll spend a good 10 minutes on it. And then we'll do like what, 15, 20 minutes of questions and answers. But after this, if you guys want to start that challenge, the coaching community is here. I can share the link with you later, or if any of you guys are interested, you can message me on LinkedIn, or just search for School Engineer Your Mission on School. 7 day free trial. We do 3 workshops per week. We had one today right before this presentation. At a workshop, we had 6 people there. We focused on everything we just talked about today and interview performance, because most of the people are interviewing, so they come to workshops for interview prep. Let me take a pause. Let me see if there's anything that I need to address in the chat. Get a little bit of water. I guess the last question says this is a 1 hour presentation. Yeah, the presentation is pretty much 1 hour. The presentation is done. I'm going to do a live example for you guys, and then we do Q&A after. Should be done in 30 minutes. Um, okay, I see other questions, but we'll answer them next. Process is super simple. You copy paste the entire prompt, you run it. It asks you for your resume, tells you what it's going to provide you. Provide the resume. It's come back and say, "Rate your resume carefully. Here's the feedback." The targetable roles, I infer are these. So top three job titles, assuming I'm this person. Uh, these are the job titles I got to go after. And you could also credibly target senior applied scientist, blah, blah, blah. Great. The keywords I got from your resume that are important, top 10. Strong credibility signal. So these are coming directly from this individual's resume. So high trust employers and platforms. He's worked at many years at Microsoft, Qualys, MIT, fantastic education. And he even graduated from Waterloo University. Waterloo University is like Canada's MIT. So these are all the things that are being pulled from the resume as this is what makes you credible. This is what a recruiter sees or an employer sees when they're quickly going through your resume. So that's fantastic. Clear ownership at senior scope, strong commercial technical outcomes, fantastic. Some of those that's pulled from the resume. This will help you with positioning, with bragging about yourself, with with branding, all that stuff, right? But the goal is to now train this model, train this conversation, so it has all the context we need to analyze our job strategy, figure out what's broken, give us a new routine, and then build a 7-day and 30-day plan for us. And lastly, the dashboard to measure and maintain our progress. Likely objection. This is so powerful. So I get so much positive feedback on this part of it. Is like, hey, I'm not sure because I normally manually give this to people. I look at it, I'm like, they're gonna pick at this, they're gonna pick at that, they're gonna pick at this. So be careful. We gotta fix these issues. And I've programmed this prompt to behave as a career coach going through that initial consultation. So it says that the target may still feel too broad, the way this resume is set up. Now, I got this client today. I haven't touched the resume. This is a resume he's given me. This is not the resume I've written. So this is before changes. Uh, your current role may create scale questions. Okay. Some leadership evidence is implied rather than explicit. Ooh, that's a problem, right? So as his career coach is going to be rewriting his resume, I have to go figure that stuff out. And then when I rerun it and analyze it, there cannot be any objections. But these are the top three problems, and there's likely more problems, more objections as well, but we just ask for the top three. So missing numbers everywhere, right? So that's pretty common to get so many places on a resume. We need a number we don't have. Cool. Now, step number one says, what roles are you targeting? Please give me one or three specific titles. Okay. This is where the conversation really starts. I'm looking for these roles, these industries, these companies, these locations. So I got to input, 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 input. So this is step 1A before it starts going through the next steps, asking questions about what this person does. Let's say what I do with my job searching, what channels I'm already using, what have I done, how many jobs I've applied to, have I done this, have I done that. It goes through an in-depth process, which quite frankly we shouldn't go through in this presentation. I just walk you through the prompt so you understand the logic, and then you can go and take a good 30 minutes. I'm guessing like at least 30 minutes it will take you to answer all those questions, rather than me showing you a hypothetical example. I'd rather teach you the logic, right? Is that fair? Can I get a thumbs up, or like is everyone cool with understanding the logic better than a live example? Because a live example is, I feel like that's elementary. You know what I mean? Okay, so I guess one person wants a live example. I want both. Cool. So let me walk you through I'm getting a lot of thumbs. Let me walk you through the prompt. There's one part I want to talk about in the prompt, but everything else, again, you literally need to copy paste and run it, right? But for those who are here who want to understand the logic, to learn, to become a strategy analyst, to learn part of and if you want to be more capable, you know, the logic helps. And obviously, I encourage you to read the prompt, right? It is long, it's 5 pages, but I do recommend you read it so you understand the goal. The goal is to build a clear, high ROI job search plan that compounds quickly, prioritizing small set of actions, most likely to produce interviews in my situation. Do not want generic advice, specific moves, daily operating system, weekly routine. Right? So that's the outcome-oriented goal. There are some constraints, and I won't read through all the constraints, but The obvious one we already talked about is how much time you have per day. That does change. I don't want to say everything, but that does change a lot of things. Do you have an hour a day? Because if you have an hour a day and you want to get stronger, physically stronger, you got to do the most strenuous exercise, like do a high intensity interval planning with a bunch of squats and push-ups, right? But if you have you have 4 hours a day for exercise, you can go for a couple hours of walking, play with your kids or dog for a little bit, you know what I mean? Then do a little bit of exercise. Like you don't have to kill yourself, you don't have to do high intensity for 4 hours. You couldn't, you know? So with job searching an hour a day, you want referrals. You want direct outreach and referrals. If you have 4 hours a day, okay, do an hour referrals, an hour of networking, but then you have to build your profile on LinkedIn, build a presence. You can do a few applications on a job board and also explore some of company websites. Diversify you can afford it because you have the time for it. If you have 8 hours a day and guess what? Okay, you have the time to do all of the above, right? If you have more than that, then okay, we can probably get in there some phone calls and some in-person events too. The time makes all the difference. How fast do you want to get results? So the X and Y, answer these realistically. I want to get hired by next week is not realistic. I want to have interviews next week. Yeah, damn right, that's realistic. You know, it's Friday. I want an interview on Monday. Not realistic. Again, this is where a real person can come in, can help you set realistic goals. Next thing I want to highlight is your personality type. So answer for people with my personality type. Uh, this has I learned this from someone else. It's not like I learned it years ago from someone else. So I got trained on it. I became a qualified, like a better coach when I learned how to change the way I communicate to people based on their personality types. We won't go through this long, but there are generally 16 different personality types. If you have done a personality test, just put in the answer in there, right? If you haven't, this NERIS Explorer type, you can learn about this personality type framework. It's going to be under resources and the theory. It's super powerful because it combines multiple different personality test assessments together and frameworks together, backed by science in all cases, and giving you a new test. 60 questions, easy to go through. Answer them honestly, answer them in the morning, good night's sleep, breakfast, go for a walk, have an exercise so you're fresh and sharp. Answer them with your gut feeling, with your core, not with your mind, with your gut. Answer them as honestly as you can be. Type in the first answer that comes in. Don't debate it. I normally give an example on the first question and say, hey, when I pick this, I say, do you regularly make friends? I disagree right away. I do not regularly make sense. I'm super introverted, although you might not even see that here. But personally, I have a lot of friends, two best friends, One of them is my karate sensei. Right? That tells you a lot about me. I struggle with trusting people, but I struggle with bringing people into my life, and my life is for other people. That's one of the parts of the person with my personality type. So answer super honestly, you know. This is me. Answer super honestly, and then go and figure out primarily your weaknesses and strengths. But tell AI to communicate with you in a way that is aligned with your personality types. Because we have a lot of strengths, we have a lot of weaknesses. There are certain things that we're good at career-wise. There are certain things we're not good at. I'm not a parent, but for those who are parents, this is the feedback I've received is like it's really insightful. Friendship things I talked about a little bit. You know, this gives you insights. If you're dating, you're working on a romantic relationship, these are super insightful stuff. Workplace habits, if you're at work, you're wondering, oh, why am I not getting along with other people? Or why don't I like it here? Going here, it's going to be really insightful. But this alone has changed people's lives when I force them to do this in step number one of my coaching program. It's 27 steps. Step number one is this, because then I need to know how to communicate with you. You need to know what your skills and weaknesses are. You need to have self-awareness, so this is baked into the prompt. So it communicates to you based on that. If you don't know it, you don't want to do this. I don't know why you're fighting this because some people say, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, your choice, but this putting this into the system and not into the system does give you not doesn't give you different results, but it presents you those results differently. Cool. Uh, Different constraints, rules, the prompt, the system needs to follow. We don't need to go through it. I'll let you read all those details. What you need to provide in step number one is your resume and answering its questions, ChatGPT's questions. The resume, you see easily, we copy pasted. It's going to ask us a few more questions and then list of questions. It goes into deep thinking and figuring out the things that we do. You guys saw this part. You know, the titles are good, the objections, credibility signals. See, it immediately spit out this stuff, and it's really insightful, especially like those objections, lack of metrics that we saw. So we're basically in step number one right now in the prompt. It's asking about the target roles, seniority, the industry, the type of work, the work model, location, work authorization, like all this stuff can totally change your strategy. These are the basic questions I ask someone when they go to book a call with me online on my calendar. There's a form. If you have ever done a consultation with me, before you get to see me, you would have already answered these questions for me. I would read the answers. I have this understanding of, okay, this is you in this situation. Then we'll go to the Zoom call and I'll talk to you. But I would have all this information ahead of time and I need detailed information. If you don't answer them, we're not talking. Right? So this is step number one of the intake questions. When we go to step number two, this is where we build that baseline. The baseline starts from a quick summary of what your situation is. So after all that information is gathered, resume, background information, goals, targets, all that is figured out, who you are, what you're aiming for, your strongest leverage. Interesting enough, there's a lot of misunderstanding here, or misconception, not misunderstanding, misconception. When you ask someone what their leverages are, like 50, it's 50-50. 50% they get it right, 50% they get it wrong. It's because of that biases. It's like if you ask me, I mean, I know it, right? But if you ask the average person, there's a 50% chance they falsely assume they have a specific leverage that's just not. It's a common denominator. It's like what you have that everybody else has too, but that doesn't make it leverage, It doesn't make you stand out. So the strongest leverage, sometimes you get surprised, what somebody else or a high intelligence thinks what your leverages are and biggest risks. When I ask people, do you know what your biggest risks are? You get a bunch of cliche answers. Most people don't know, right? This little mini report is eye-opening. It's important to build that foundation, to build that baseline. Then we need to identify and rank the top three likely bottlenecks, and there's likely going to be more than three, but top three contribute to the majority of your problem. We talked about this a little bit in the presentation. It's unclear, overly broad targets. So targeting could be wrong, positioning could be wrong. Maybe your branding is wrong. Maybe you picked the wrong channel. There's so many things you could possibly do wrong. So it's going to come back with that information. What is the top three problem that we need to solve? And for each of them, it's going to give you evidence. Assumptions being made, it's going to list of it. This is what I was mentioning. If you make an assumption, you got to let us know what the assumption is. So the more detail you provide, less assumptions made because it has all this information. The more lack of information, if you say, I don't know this, I don't know this, like the example is, I want to work anywhere in the US. Okay, well, here's a job in Louisiana. Here's Nebraska. You want to work? It's going to assume that you're open to working in Alaska. So don't just open all the windows and doors and all the options open, assuming that the more open I am, the more options I'm gonna get. So therefore, I'm gonna get hired faster. No, no, no. That's not the planet we live on. Be super specific, especially when you're answering these questions. Don't say any level. You know what I mean? Don't just say any title or any industry. So normally I get the any industry thing. Oh, any type of job or any city. I just need a job right now. Anywhere in California. I was like, oh. then it's gonna just assume certain things that likely you're not gonna be happy with later on. So answer very specific. Be picky. I rather you're extremely picky than falling on the other side of the spectrum. Uh, Stating the most likely reasons why you're being ghosted or not getting interviews, you need to figure that out. It will be figured out for you. Choosing the primary and secondary paths for the first 7 days, depending on the availability you have, and the goals we set above. That's step number 4. Step number 4 of I guess part 4 of step number 2. Then it goes to more questions. This is why it's going to take you 30 minutes. Assuming you're answering these questions and you just chatting back and forth, you might get stuck on a question, of course, and that contributes to this process going longer. But when I run this process, it's a 30-minute conversation, with me, and I try to help as much as I can without persuading you to one direction or deviating you from another question. That's what a coach should not do. Only working with facts. You're not here, or you're not going to go to a consultation to be told what to do. We need to go work with facts. So there's going to be a series of strategic questions that you need to answer one by one. It's just going to intake these questions. I won't read through these right now, but these are much chunkier, larger questions. There's at least 10, and there's instructions there to ask you more questions if needed. But these 10 you must answer. Uh, that goes deep. This is probably where you're going to be stuck. Not stuck, but like you're going to spend more time on step number 3. And then from step number 4 forward, it's going to turn that information into an execution plan. For the first 7 days, you're going to have your MVP, minimum viable process. This is what you ought to do the first day, and it maps everything out. Day number 1, this. Day number 2, this. So it gives you like exactly like what your routine should be. And then it covers week 2, 3, and 4. So first 7 days is a first 7 day challenge, right? You need to get all your ducks in a row. And you will execute at the end of number 1. But in week 2, 3, and 4 and beyond, you're in execution mode, right? You're tracking how many applications you're sending, how many outreach messages, how many people are getting back to you, how many referrals did you got, how many calls did you book, who did you connect? Like all that stuff needs to be tracked in this dashboard it'll build for you. Also giving you a list of things not to do, the time wasters. So a lot of times you're spending time on things that have very low success rates. So sometimes it's just a matter of stop doing things that don't work, before it gives you the final report. So step number 1 is a detailed report, your job search strategy report. This is a thing, if you guys want to, please do, but if you choose to, if you get this report and you want to execute it, you have your weekly plan, first 7 days, first month, you're comfortable with it, go for it. If you guys want to get some feedback on it, I'm happy to. That's what I want, right? I am anticipating, like the last time I gave this presentation, to get questions from here. So you might get stuck here in step number 3. And that's cool. Just DM me on LinkedIn. I'll help you as best as I can. If the question is big and I need digging deeper, I would kindly ask you, okay, it's time for you to start your 7 day challenge, free 7 day challenge, get into our school community, attend the next 3 workshops so we can spend, 3+ hours together so I can help you get unstuck and actually finish executing this prompt. Cool. Uh, but ultimately, if you guys go through all of it, you get this is a report I'm happy to review and give you feedback on. Um, Give you your tactics, biggest mistakes, top 3 moves in the first 7 days, your daily checklist, weekly target, constraints, trade-offs, like everything's all mapped out, and you have your dashboard. Now you can get all fancy with this and type this into Codex or code or Mess. You can automate this process. You can with all you technical people. You can be all kinds of fancy with this. Go for it. I'm not stopping you. But the first time you run it, just do it manually. Just go through it, get your resume in there, especially if you haven't got anything fixed. You're just doing a deep dive analysis, diagnosis on what's happening. Or, if you've already been job searching and not getting results you're expecting, like, what's happening to me? Like, what's happening? Like, or if you haven't started job searching, you want to get started, then it's really the best place to be. Start from here, start from just executing this prompt and map out your entire daily, weekly, monthly operating system on top of all the insights that of come out of these certain steps, like step three, you know, because otherwise somebody has to answer these questions. Either you sit down with a coach, with a consultant, and you guys figure this stuff out. It takes time and money, obviously, or you take the time and the effort. You go to it with an AI platform like this, you know. So with that said, last thing I promised you guys, it's for those who get to the bottom of this. Again, is what 60, 56 people we have right here. Maybe like two, three of you guys want that extra support, want that coaching. You're all of you guys are gonna get this other prompt. But for those that have decided that, you know what, I need a career coach, but I need to start my search. You know, I need to find career coaches. I need to analyze them. I need to personalize, see who's personalized to me. This is another prompt. Again, it's a pretty hefty one too. It's 7 pages long. This is to evaluate a career coaching program. Find the right career coach and evaluate it for you versus just, and this is read the prompt. It's not biased towards me. It has nothing to do with me, right? That's already been fully tested. You go through it and it helps you find, pick, qualify a career coach or a coaching program, right? So this is also, okay, this is also shared. Let me take a pause. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to start dropping these links in the chat. I'm going to start by the main prompt, the Job Search Strategy Analyst prompt version 2. What you want to do is either save it or download it or make a copy. Then I'm going to share with you guys the Career Coaching Program Analyst. Again, either save it or make a copy for yourself. I'm going to have to download this presentation and upload it somewhere as well. I can do this right now as we're talking. And I think this is it. I'll share a link to the coaching community as well. That way you guys have access to it, those who want to get started. Again, the first 7 days is free. So perhaps you want to wait, execute the prompt if and when you need help. We want to start that 7 day challenge, then join the community, then go to the calendar, attend the next workshop, tell me we met in Albert's presentation. You have your report ready. I'll look at the report and I'll help you with execution. Cool. All right, so I'll stop sharing the screen. Thank you for everyone who hung out with us and stayed towards the end. Still not the end. We'll answer some questions, but thank you for your time and patience here. Hey Tammy, it's good to see you. Thanks for the vote of confidence. All right, so let me drop these files for you guys. First and foremost, then the main prompt. That's that. To click on it. Then the job coaching program analyst prompt. That's next. And then we have the coaching community page. So that's for your 7 day free challenge, the free 7 day trial. And we just need to I just need to upload the presentation, the slide deck. So I'll save that right now. Let's see. Actually, I can share the public link. There you go. Public link. Anybody can
Nice.
view it. Allow copies. Copy slide deck. Save. And here's the slide deck. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Albert, you tell me, how do you want to take questions?
Okay, so if you do have questions, feel free to just, I think, type them again since the chat has been going on for quite a while now.
I can scroll up,
Oh, okay.
so we can do this. So let me see. I'll scroll through the questions if you don't mind.
Yep, yep. Go for
Because
it.
sometimes some of the questions may have already been answered. I can quickly skip them or not bring them up
Yeah.
or address them again. But I'll just go from the bottom up. Apologies for those who have dropped their questions first. So we'll keep scrolling up to see how far we get. Uh, Tammy, thanks again for the vote of confidence. Abby says, thanks. Please share the presentation and documents. So, Abby, the presentation links and documents, everything's in there. Any one of you guys, if you haven't connected with me yet on LinkedIn, that's where you can get a hold of me right away. So I'll drop that link here again. Uh, Saba says I got disconnected. So yeah, all the links are in the chat. Let's keep scrolling up. Iqbal says, thank you again for the presentation. You're live. Da, 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 da. Best regards. Fantastic. So he's got his LinkedIn profile link in there. Connect with Iqbal, please. Iman, thank you so much for your message. Ankit says, do you have access to this document? Yeah, just the document I just pasted in the chat. Uh, so let me see. This is all located in your process under school. Here we go, Tammy. Looks like it's also linked in his documents. Yeah, so the Michael says has shared the link, the 16 personalities. Just go to 16personalities.com. Take that test. Amazing, amazing results come out of that. So much awareness. And if you're working with a coach or a consultant or an AI platform like that, I mean, your AI, so in the system settings, in the system prompts or the personalization settings, if you go to ChatGPT, go to settings and then personalization, there's a part that says, tell me more about you. In there, you should tell ChatGPT, hey, I have this personality type. Like I am an ISFJA, I am an ISFJA. Make sure you like know that. So when you talk to me, you know my weaknesses, you know my strengths, you know what I'm good at, you know what I'm not good at, you know what I do well. Like, it knows so much about you because we are different. At least there are 16 different types of personalities that we all have. And none of them are bad. It's just we are who we are. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses. When we don't know what those strengths and weaknesses are, we go, let's say we follow a career path like me, like I should not have gone to engineering. You know what I mean? If I knew what my personality type was, I should have been like a teacher, doctor, like helping people. My life is like I put my life on the line for other people. I've always been like that, standing up to the bullies in school. Like I started sports coaching since I was 15 years old, right? So, but I went to engineering school. I am not built. I didn't do great in engineering school, but I graduated. I worked in technology. I got into recruiting engineers. I understood what they do, but I was in human resources, so I was helping human beings, and it was like finally I found what I was thought I loved to do. If I had known that, I would have likely continued in sports coaching, right? I wish somebody told me I need to know what my personality type is, back in the day, 20 years ago. But I get great feedback from that. All right, scrolling up through questions. Again, we have more links to LinkedIn profiles. Please do connect with one another. You can make a big impact today and leave with 50 new connections. Our connections are our currency. In the job market, the currency, the value that we deal with is our connections. I always say connections are our currency because we want connection, we want introductions, we want referrals, right? It could be very possible someone you connect with today can introduce you to someone else, or one of their friends, one of their connections can be the right person for you. All right, moving up to the questions. Uh, so is Claude the best for job search related stuff? They're all the same. It's not the platform, it's what you instructed to do. It's the instructions, it's the prompt, it's the process, it's the feedback. At this stage, they're all good. They're all amazing. Any one of them is smarter than all of us together times 100, right? So again, we're not having those debates. This is not the Chat GPT 3.5 time. They're all good. Use one of the free Chinese models. The Chinese model is number one in the world right now, and it's free to use. Go figure that one out, right? Claude is great, but it's among the most expensive ones, right? So depends. They're all good. Let's see. More questions. Recommendations for certificates in prompt engineering, Julia says. Yeah, I've done the Google. So start with Google's prompt engineering course. I've done the IBM one. I've done the Coursera one. I've done a bunch of smaller ones on deeplearning.ai. but prompt engineering, learning what automation is, agentic processes. If you want little mini courses, go to deeplearning.ai. Amazing platform. Everything's free. Uh, if you want something fundamental, especially if you know you're using a specific platform, if you want to get into the Google platform, Google's slew of products and workplace tools, yeah, just do the Google one. They all have free training. Go to ChatGPT Academy. I'm doing two training sessions with ChatGPT tomorrow. I closed the page, but there's two major training events happening at OpenAI tomorrow. I'm attending both. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. Yep. So two events open academy. There's Activator one foundation, and there's the workflow, the work. So ChatGPT work was just announced a week ago, automating automating workflows. I'm attending both tomorrow. You can go to Claude Academy. They all have their platforms. You can learn from all of them. But in terms of a certification, it's nice to have one certification in there. Like a Google certification is great. Another question. What you know, so yesterday, what you know gets you through the door. Who you know determines if and when the door opens. 100%. I love that, Paul, what you said. See, we always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, it's also what you know. What you know can easily get you through the door, but who you know and how you present yourself, how you talk about yourself, how much confidence do you give the other person that hiring you would be a good decision for them because only one person gets hired. Those are the nuances, that's where like AI might not be able to help you much because a real human being makes that decision, at least for now. What else?
Let's do a few more questions. I do need to head out soon. Um, ah, you're wondering how I figure out my next events. All right, let me drop you the Eventbrite link. That's an easy one.
Sarah says, my first bottleneck is unclear target. How do I get clarity around that? I'm unsure whether to target a high profile leadership role or general project management where there's a lot more roles out there. Uh, without knowing anything about you, I would say don't pick a target based on how many opportunities you see out there. So that's it's not gonna work out for you. All right. The target you choose is based on what you're qualified, the proof and evidence of what you have to offer. Technical and non-technical skills, hard and soft skills. But don't pick a career path because you think like the perception is that there's just more job ads out there. You know, you might get an interview, but realize that yeah, you don't have those qualifications, right? So it's based on qualifications. It's what you know. It's based on what you know, and your desires might change. You might say, I know this, and that really well, but it's the third thing that I really crave for. Okay, you go with that. So what you're passionate about can deviate you from one path to another, but you should pick your target. That's step number one, based on what you're actually qualified to do. Uh, my favorite outreach source is LinkedIn. It is not my favorite. It is just number one in the world. Whether you like it or not, LinkedIn is operating a monopoly. You're either on LinkedIn or you don't exist.
All right.
A lot of small good questions or like comments here. Uh, Time's running out, so I'll let you guys connect with me on LinkedIn. I've got 19 invitations here pending, so I will accept all of you guys. Send your DMs to me so I can answer them as best as I can. As soon as you're ready to proceed, if you need help, definitely connect with me. Connect through the school community. Start your 7-day campaign, and that way we can spend a few more hours. The first three workshops in that 7 days are going to be free, so you can come in, bring your job search operating system report, give you feedback, figure everything out, send you on your way. If you don't want to continue, and if you want to continue, fantastic. We continue working one on one together.
All right. I don't see any other questions coming in. So are you so cool. All right. I want to thank everyone for spending their time with us today. Nader, as always, a very, very thorough job. And I look forward to seeing you back here again soon. Everybody, we have a lot more events on our Eventbrite page. So come back when you can. And best of luck on your job search. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.